Hello and welcome to a brand new season of the Two Robbies podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of every single Premier League match week. I'm Robbie Mustoe and he's Robbie Earle, and we're excited for the season to get underway this weekend.
That's right, Mustoe. After a summer break that's consisted of the Club World Cup, the Nations League, loads of summer friendlies, including the Premier League Summer Series, it's the Premier League that returns with a bang. And today, we have you covered with everything you need to know before it all kicks off this Friday.
Yes, Rob. But we first, mate, we do have to, before we dive into the football, we want to take a moment to remember the life of Liverpool player Diogo Jota. Diogo and his brother Andre Silva died in a car accident on July 3rd in Spain. Diogo spent 7 seasons in the Premier League and 5 with Liverpool. He won 4 major trophies with the Reds, including last season's Premier League trophy. Wow. This one of those moments, Rob, where I think we're all going to remember where we were when we found the news. And I think it came from our group chat with us, Tim and Rebecca. One of us shared the news, and it's one of the most awful, horrifying, unimaginable things to hear about, isn't it? It's so sad.
It's one of those things, Rob, and I can continue to say till up to today, I don't think there's a day out when I haven't thought about Diogo and his brother. Just sort of kind of hits home the frailty of life. You know, I remember we were talking, weren't we? And Diogo Jota was playing with his kids a couple of yards from the desk the day they won the title, and we were saying, you know, they were right next to us, Rob. And then within a few weeks, he got married, and obviously this horrible accident that's happened that has taken his life and taken him and his brother away. Just one of those really horrific things that's been difficult to get over. I'm sure it's going to be emotional Anfield on Friday night as fans pay their respect to Diogo Jota and what he meant to the club, the team, and that community. One of the difficult time, I think, for everybody in football, Rob, regardless of who you supported or what colours you wore. I think we all felt for Diogo's family.
Yeah, I know they're going to retire his shirt number of 20. There's been a lot of kind of emotion, and some of the pre-season friendlies, Rob, has been very well respected, of course, by everybody that Liverpool has played. Former players have laid wreaths, etc., etc. So it has been emotional. It will be an awkward broadcast on our first one of the new season at Anfield on Friday night against Bournemouth. But I'm sure Liverpool do it in the way that they do a lot of these awful things, and it'll be done in a classy way.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Okay, my friend. We're going to move on to the football now. The start of a new season in the Premier League, when I'm not so sure, Rob, and I was thinking this as I was just looking through some notes this morning. I'm not sure we've ever had a Premier League with so many storylines. Every club seems to have a storyline that could go a number of ways. So for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, we're going to break this podcast up into 5 topics, sort of the 5 burning questions heading in to this Premier League. And our first question, Rob, is pretty much based around this. Is the Premier League set up for one of its most exciting title races in history? So of the teams that I think at this stage we would think would be vying for that title, and I think we've got them down as 4 of, and I would assume most people would sort of have the similar 4 as their first choices. If we put Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City and Chelsea as those 4 teams, kick us off a bit with Liverpool, the defending champions. You know, how difficult we've known it to go back-to-back. Man City have done it a couple of times. United have done it in the past, but going back-to-back in the Premier League. Are Liverpool ready, equipped, in position to do that, mate?
I think they are, and a lot of it will point to that. We're going to make our little predictions right at the end. So if you stay to the end of the podcast, you know we're not going to give it away too much on the way through here. But obviously, the big story of Liverpool is the transfers that they've made during the summer. And you know, was it Sir Alex Ferguson that said, "Strengthen when you're on top." And my goodness, they've been strong in the market. They've been very proactive, very early. Florian Wirtz was a huge amount, $156 million signing, Rob. That's going to add something different, very, very different to their midfield. If you consider Szoboszlai, that they've got Gravenberch does the holding role, McAllister, who's the footballer, playmaker. You know, he gives something different. You know, we've talked about it before, Rob, where the three midfield players in a 4-3-3 or a 5-3-2, whatever, have got to have a little bit different attributes and offer different things. Wirtz now offers something very different. We've had a little look at him in pre-season, some flashes against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield game last weekend. And that signing as well, of course, is Jeremy Frimpong, the fullback that played in the game. It's a different right back to Trent Alexander-Arnold, but of course, Trent is not there anymore. There's your right fullback. The left fullback is going to be Mikel Gyokeres from Bournemouth. We've talked about him a lot. He ended up, of course, going to Liverpool pretty early. And Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt, Rob, is a player that we talked about months ago. I remember I think Rebecca asked in the studio about a certain club. And I think I might have said, this guy Ekitike from Frankfurt looks kind of skillful and tricky. He's younger. He offers something different to the other strikers that were getting touted at the time. He's signed as well. So that's quite the window. What do you think? What have you made that?
Well, I'll kind of pause you there and say I raise you a Mark Gay and an Isak.
Alexander Isak, possibly.
Isak, I raise you. I mean, if they were to come in the door, Rob, I mean, that's lights out, isn't it? That's almost like, I think we'll see the title up at Anfield on Friday. It might just be staying there, might it? I mean, I suppose the
I'm not so sure
where I'm looking, Rob. So my analogy was that Arne Slot's bought himself a new, I think they call them an RV, don't they, in the US, like a caravan vehicle that he's going to go off, and he's going on a 38 Premier League journey, and he's going on a 16-game European journey, and he's stocked the cupboards up, mate. He ain't running out of food, is he, anywhere along the route? So at times there could be a weekend Premier League team and a midweek European team that look quite different, Rob, that we're not having to play, a Zoboszlai and a McAllister and that on two occasions. Maybe these swaps, maybe, a Jones comes in and, an Endo or somebody comes in. Maybe that's the quality. So here's my big question with Liverpool and where we're at, Rob. In terms of signings and whether the other two come in would be an incredible window. Based on last season, they virtually did no big business. Was it Chiesa came in late and they won the title? Is it more difficult to integrate the number of players that he's bringing and almost keep a bit of chemistry, Rob, amongst it? Is that going to be also a challenge that some people won't understand what a dressing room's like and how everybody wants to be in that first 11, mate? No one wants to be in the bibs on a Friday when you're training.
It was funny. The Community Shield game against Crystal Palace. When you look at that game, when you report back, I can report back that the new players looked very good. All of them. Lovely. I mean, Wirtz gets his assist into Ekitike, whose touch, his finish is like, wow, that's brilliant. Fullbacks were sound, were very, very good. That's really good. Yet the team didn't play well.
No.
So I feel quite strongly that this is going to be difficult and this is different. I'm not sure we've seen a champion team in the Premier League, Robbie Earle, that changes almost and maybe half of this outfield team. Maybe 5 players. If Ekitike and Isak start, that's potentially and very probably 5 players different. That's a lot of change. Now, again, those individuals look great and they might be great, but do they know what to do without the ball? Do they understand, getting back to be team defending, which hasn't been good for Liverpool this preseason? Do they understand how hard it's going to be as a marathon in your RV, mate? They're going over all sorts of terrain. It's very long. It's cold. There's no breaks like they have in the Bundesliga. They have breaks. The intensity every few days. When you're in the Champions League level with the extra games, this is going to be new to those new players. So the combination of all that has me thinking, well, maybe it isn't going to be a slam dunk, and maybe the trophy isn't there waiting for them in the season's time. Others are strengthened as well, which we'll get to. So I'm not, of course, I understand the players have got, and our early looks, they look really bright, but there's one thing having good players, there's another thing having a really strong team that knows what's coming up. And there's a few of these that are in from different leagues that listen, might all hit the ground running.
Correct.
And Arne Slot's a very smart guy. He's gone in as a new manager last year and got them all on the same page. I'm just offering something a little different, and it's certainly in my mind, that it won't. For me, it won't be all plain sailing. It just won't be, even if Isak starts.
Well, I think it's a point well made. I'm the same. I look at the number of signings. Sometimes you just have to be careful about dressing room dynamics, about on-pitch chemistry, about relationships. Not necessarily that we take a huge amount on friendlies, Rob, but I think there's been 4 or 5. I've got 5 Premier friendly games. They've yet to keep a clean sheet.
Yep.
The team defending's not quite been the same, which sometimes takes a little bit of understanding and chemistry and working with people to understand which spots we've got to be in, why and where. So
Gravenberg's been missed, Rob. Gravenberg was missed pre-season. He's going to miss the first game of season suspension. And what if he gets injured? What if Isak signs? Isak's been a little fragile. We've talked about him many times in Newcastle. He's resting. He's not 100%. He's not playing today. Ekitike is somebody that's very young. You know, is he going to? It's just a very. And I say all this because of what they're going for. They're going to go. They're going for a championship. They're also probably got certainly not in the Champions League. And at this level, with the teams that are strengthened around them, you get off to an easy or a slowish start, Rob, like Arsenal did last year, and you're behind. So that's all I'm saying. I saw, you know, it could take a little bit of time to groove this team, and it wouldn't surprise me if in the second half of the season, Liverpool look absolutely irresistible. But between the start and later, if they do, you know, a little not rusty is the wrong word, but a little just finding their feet, they could find themselves behind. So that's
interesting you say that as well. Just quickly before we move on, I just looked at the first 5 fixtures for Liverpool. So home to Bournemouth, away to Newcastle, home to Arsenal, away to Burnley, home to Everton. So there's a couple of tests in there.
There is
challenges. You know, Everton's never going to be easy. Burnley, you know, away from home. Newcastle and Arsenal. So you're right. They'll have to
was it Newcastle at St James's, Rob? The Newcastle.
It's at St James's. Yeah.
Can you imagine if Isak's at Liverpool at that point?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be beyond fired up.
Then. I can't believe that can be done before then. But that's a whole new podcast, mate.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the team that finished second. That will want to go one better this time. It's Arsenal. I suppose, Rob, for me, there's a feeling that whether these are all the right players or the players he wanted, it kind of feels like they've given Mikel what he needed. I think Zubimendi's a brilliant signing in midfield, a metronome who will dictate play. I think Gyokeres appears to be the striker that he's wanted. Talked about his physicality and his movement. Madueke adds strength to the wide areas of one or either Martinelli. And Norgard's a good soldier who you can rely on. I think certain games, whether it's cup games, whether it's lesser Premier League games, knows what league does particularly well. Kind of feel that, you know, I was looking at Arsenal's squad at the bench at the weekend. They played Athletic Bilbao 1-3-0. Kai Havertz, Ben White, Norgard, Waneri, Luis Skelly, Madueke, Marino. They were players who weren't starting, Rob. Yeah.
And also, Rob, and I know we often talk about pre-season, it's not really an indicator. And for the most part, that there's some strength in that. But I got to say, when I look at Arsenal's last, it's like that's the team. They're ready, mate. They're ready. They're playing the last couple of games with the team that's probably going to start or very close to it. That's great for because what we can talk about what it's like to be in pre-season and what it's like as an individual player that you're boiling up nicely for the start of the season. To do that, you've got to be playing most of the pre-season games. You know, if you're out injured or you're not quite right or you're moving club or you've had a break, you know, Arsenal look with their lineups like they're ready to go. Gyokeres has already scored in pre-season. He's the guy that could bring. I mean, he'll be looking to get 20 plus goals, Victor Gyokeres, and that's a big number. But he will be looking to do that. And if you add that into everything else that they've got, Robbie Earle, with Saka, that when you think about Bukayo Saka, Rob, I know he had his big injury last year. Pre-season, he's playing. You know, he's effective. He looks sharp. He's ready. He's potentially ready for a big season. You've got Kai Havertz can play in different spots now because you've got a different forward option. And all the signings, they've strengthened. Well, I say strengthened because I'm not sure the first 11 will be strengthened, but in each part there's added players to goalkeeper, defense, centre midfield players, strikers, and a winger in Madueke. Madueke is a bit of that's kind of a lot of money, Mikel. When I first saw it, I was like, he blows hot and cold, Madueke, what we've seen so far. So he has a ceiling, that's a really high potential ceiling, but we don't really know. But that again, Rob, if he can come up with 8 to 10 goals, with Havertz 8 to 10 goals, with Odegaard's 5 or 6, with Martinelli 6 or 7, with Saka's maybe 12, 15, plus the Gyokeres guy up front, plus their set pieces. You know where I'm going with this. I think they're going to be better.
Those goals. Well, I mean, the big piece, mate, is Gyokeres. We can't deny it. That's the one we would say. People have been saying with a striker. Well, we've got a striker. Many complaints saying, well, he was at a championship with Coventry, was it 2-3 years ago? 68 goals in 2 seasons in sport. And I don't care, Rob, where you play. If you're getting 68 goals, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
I don't think, and I was thinking about this morning, I'm not sure there's a better team in the Premier League at building the ball from the back through into the last third. I don't think anyone, when they're on the game, does it any better than Arsenal, as slick as they are. But something doesn't quite go right in that last third. This is what the guy's been bought for, Rob. 14 games that they drew last season. You can't win a title with 14 draws. If this guy can turn half of those into wins, they can win the silverware. And that's really the question, I think, for Mikel, for what he's built, for where he's gone, for how he's doing. And I know there's going to be a little bit of pressure on him this time because the money's been spent. People are going to expect him to deliver some silverware. And people are going to say that his guy up front, whether it's the one they wanted or not, but it's the one they've got now, has got to produce those goods for this team to be successful.
Yeah, I think many people are going to say that. It's got to be this year, it's got to win something. I'm just not, I just don't think it's as binary as that, Rob, for me. It never has been, never will be. If he doesn't do that, then let's just see. Let's just see what happens. He's got the benefit of Mars Lewis Skelly, Wanyeri, these young players that are developing, that are coming through. And you talk about before with Liverpool, Rob, potentially the players they might still get. Abramovich Eze has been rumoured for Arsenal. Now, if he comes in as well, that's a left number 8 option, and that's a left winger option where Martinelli plays. That's a great, that, because potentially, with Declan Rice in that left 8, or is it going to be Kai Havertz? Is it, if they get Eze, that's another option. Eze can play further up. He's more of an attacking, creative side. And I know it's a lot of money, and I know that other clubs, I think Spurs are in for Eze as well. But I just think if he came as well, wow, then you're talking about at least 2 good teams in that squad, and I like the sound of that. But no, I think Arsenal had a good window. Is that Andrea Berta, the new sporting director, was something that and he's hit the ground, mate. He's an experienced director of football, experienced operator, and he's got in some done
his business well, hasn't he? Got in and done their business well. Seems to know the European market and brought in the players there. So looks like Mikel's got all the pieces in the jigsaw. Just got to make the picture come together, mate.
Yes, and we'll get to that at the end of this show, whether we think they're going to do it or not.
Absolutely. Let's go to the blue half of Manchester, my friend, where it was interesting, again, looking at things this morning. Manchester City, which by their standards had a pretty disastrous season. Disastrous season meant 3 points behind Arsenal and just 13 points behind Liverpool. So as bad as it was, Rob, they kind of still ended up with 71 points. For me, Rob, I'll come out first before I pass on to you. I kind of feel like, and I know we talked about players in and players out at certain clubs, which is going to be key to success this year. I kind of point myself to the manager more on this one.
I know you would.
To Pep.
Go on then. What's your little feeling about him? I know you get emotion.
My little feeling is that the new signings are going to spur him on. It's going to change the chemistry. It's going to, and I'm not at this point saying, they're going to run off or they're going to be back to where they were. But I think he needed something, Rob, in this football club. And I think these new younger players who are ambitious, who want the Pep magic just sprinkled on them, I think he's going to enjoy that. And I think it's going to put fire back in his belly and get him driving back to the thing. And the second thing I want to say on the Pep is the other Pep Linders, who he's brought in as his assistant coach, who I think is a brilliant bit of business, Rob. Because I think Pep Linders, as we saw when he was Jurgen Klopp's number 2, I think is supposed to be tactically really smart, come with good ideas, a good soundboard for the manager. At times can do the odd press conference when the manager's not in the right mood and just hold the fort a little bit. And I just feel that Pep has needed somebody over the last couple of seasons, probably since Arteta left. I'm not sure how close he's been to. He's got other coaches and works with them. But I just think Pep Linders is another great signing for Manchester City to support number 1 Pep at the top of the tree. So I'm feeling a little bit warm and rosy for City. Not saying that they're going to be back to City dominating, but I feel like there's a fire being lit under them.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, Rob. I'm with you a little bit, but I'm not all the way with you with Pep. I'm not all the way. I don't know whether they've done enough in the window. Now, I know their window was an early one and they got players in to go to the Club World Cup. Another bit of a disappointment ending for Man City at that one. Johnny Reinders looks a really good player.
Yeah.
Reinders, the midfield player. Watched the game the other day. They won their pre-seasons. He got 2. He should have scored 3. He looks a really good number 8, like a really clever, skillful, exciting player. Like the sound of him. Ryan Cherky is a clever little Bernardo Silva type, an assisting player, a tricky little player. And Ryan Aït-Nouri, you know from Wolves, Rob, is very, very good going forward, but not a good defender. I still think 2 parts. I still think that the attacking tilt of his team, when he's got his best out there and he's got his best players and his best teams of previous teams and star players, they are incredible. But when that quality or when that level isn't quite extraordinary level, then they turn the ball over a lot. I still think, and with Aït-Nouri, I still think he's going to be a liability defensively. And I just wonder if they've done enough to what, as you said, rejuvenate Pep. Like you said, that the new signings they give him, I don't know whether they've done enough to get back to where they want to be. We know Rodri has got another injury, Rob, I believe. Not a bad one, but he's hurt himself. A little groin injury, so he's not quite right yet. I mean, potentially, I think we know that Erling Haaland's going to score a lot of goals. Yeah. Marmoush looks a really good player. I just don't know whether they've added enough for me to say, wow, they're going to be, they're going to be tough to beat. They're going to be right back at the very, very top. It depends, doesn't it? Let me throw a question to you, Rob. If they don't start particularly well, right, and say if their first 6 games they win 2, draw 2, and lose 2, is there going to be a sense of, does that excitement go, Rob, or do you think they're made of tougher stuff this time?
I think less with the new players, because I think you can kind of stir them up. They've not been down that road. I think that's why possibly moving some of those other players on who've been great champions and had great history with him. I think there's a difference in that. The other thing, Rob, that just hit home as well, I've listening and reading a little bit of Pep, where he talked about he might have to just slightly tweak the way he plays, in terms that he thinks people have got used to that they can't dominate possession as much. Teams are better set up, teams are more physical, teams get more territory. So he was saying at times that they might have to be prepared a little bit to be in more of a mid-block than totally dominating games. I just thought, well, he's almost starting to reinvent the next thing. The inverted fullbacks got it.
Yeah, it might be something new he brings in. Yeah,
the false nines. He might have a little something that he just brings to the party that just changes it all up again, and we go, wow, now how do we deal with this? I don't know quite what it is, but it sounds to me like he's already back in the chemistry lab working up a new potion that he's going to unleash on the league. So we'll keep an eye on that, as you say, all the different parts and different players, different assistants, whether that does get Pep fired up again and back flying. But there's no doubt it's a better Premier League when Pep's firing and doing his thing. I mean, the only thing to say, Rob, and I know we'll just touch on it here, they still have that 115 financial irregularities sitting over them.
The charges, it's got to come out. It's going to. I mean, it's got to come out at some point.
Some time ago, and at some point, you would assume during this season that's going to come out. And obviously, you have to wait and see what the verdict is and what the actions are. But again, City with that to get over. But I just feel there's some brighter horizons on the football side with me with what they brought in. Let's move to the other team before
the best team in the world.
Before the world's greatest team, Chelsea Football Club World Cup winners, Europa Conference League winners, Champions League qualifiers, all in Maresco's first season. Where are we? Are we ready to back the horse, Rob? Or, remember last season? Was it last season we were at Stamford Bridge and he talked about give him time. He wants to work. He wants to produce a Man City-esque team, but he's going to need the time and the players and the transfers. Are we starting to get to a place where we're starting to expect now a little more?
I don't know whether we're at the point where those fans and the Chelsea fans are very demanding are going to expect. Maybe their expectations are certainly higher, but I don't think, again, they're going to expect Chelsea to be there and to win the title, to win other. I mean, I like what's going on at Chelsea. I like the project. I liked it from the start. I liked it. It was different. And I think certainly I was careful to say, hang on a minute, because they got get a bit hammered at the beginning. Well, all these young, crazy long contracts and these signings of young players. It was different. It was different. And I think towards the end of last season, and of course, the Club World Cup, they look really, really good. I know it's an odd competition or a new competition that people getting their heads around, but they were good in that. Yes. And tactically, they smashed PSG in the final. The Maresca, the way they set up, I really like tactically what they do, Chelsea. They got a few little permutations, and it's hard to track and figure out what they're doing or what the shape of midfield is when they bring a forward out of the defensive line. So I love what they do. I mean, we have a little rundown from our producer here, Rob, and there's a bit, notable signings. So there's so many signings. I mean, but we should mention just a few of the ones that's come in. João Pedro from Brighton is something that's really interesting to me. Really interesting. Hit the ground running with Chelsea in the Club World Cup. Looked $1 million. Something very different to Nico Jackson. He's clever. He comes off the line. He's like a false nine, really, but he's creative. His end product is there as well. I think it's an excellent signing. They got Liam Delap. They got Jamie Gittins, the exciting winger from Borussia Dortmund. Estevao, the Brazilian Palmeiras. His last goal for them was against Chelsea in the Club World Cup. He looks like they're saying he's a wonder kid from Brazil. The next big thing is a wide player, potentially. Gerald Hato from Ajax, the defender, left fullback or centre back that's got rave reviews. And they've let João Felix go. They got money for him. They got money for Nona Madueke to Arsenal and many others. Their net spend isn't that crazy because, as we've said from years now, Rob, they're a player investment business. They're a football team that are trying to win things, and they are a player. They're an investment business. They buy assets, sometimes distressed assets, and they buy them, and people scratch their heads. Well, where's he going to fit into the team? Doesn't really matter. If they think it's a good deal for a young player, a good price, distressed, Garnacho's could be the next one that goes there. They'll bring, and some of those they'll be able to develop and get into the first team, but probably not, and they'll loan and sell somewhere else. So they've been player trading again this window, like every window, and in there's going to be little diamonds that are going to come into the team and make the first team better. Okay. I'm excited to watch them. I'm excited to watch them grow. And I hope the fan base now are more bought in with the project and with the manager. And I know it's a ton of money. And they might say, but if we spent the money on certain players, that is the argument. But I, for one, I enjoyed the Club World Cup. I'm like, wow, that's kudos. Cole Palmer, Rob was back to his best in the Club World Cup.
He's excellent.
They got options in all areas of the side. I think they're going to have a really, really big season.
I mean, this is a team that, could start well, Rob, and go flying at the start of the season, and everybody could be chasing them. That's the potential. We talked about what it means about winning in a dressing room. This group of players have won Europa Conference League, not the best competition in Europe, but happy to win it. The Club World Cup, which will become more and more important to football clubs over the coming years, Rob, you wait and see that they've won. Getting into the Champions League was important for this football club. It feels that's where it should be. I'm still, I love what Maresca's doing. I buy into and I take my hat off that you saw earlier, the player trading and the way that works and the way that Chelsea know how to do it. Maybe others could try and not know quite how to do it, in selling homegrown talent, getting good money for that, making sure they're right side of PSR. Defensively, Rob, I still have my concerns. The
goalkeeper.
And Levi Colwell is out now with an ACL. He was one of their more consistent defenders. So between, was it Tosin, Fofana, Chalobah, Hato has just come in. I'm not sure these are top end centre back partnership with that goalkeeper behind me. When I'm talking those big games, when I'm talking those big moments, can I rely on that three at the moment? I'm still a little bit unsure, mate.
No, that's a very valid point. I know I'm a big fan of Fofana. I think he's not too far away. I think Chalobah hurt himself, Robin, in the last preseason game. Donnarumma from PSG. He looks like he's leaving that club. I don't know whether he fits the profile of a Chelsea player, but wow, that could be quite the signing for Chelsea. So no, I hear you, and absolutely right. I don't like Robert Sanchez. He's okay, but to get to where they want to get, that's you're into some of the final pieces now, Rob, aren't you? With the centre back, maybe a goalkeeper. So I don't know. It will. I think they'll be fun to watch. They'll be fun to watch, and that's the kind of the 4 teams, Rob, that we kind of addressed in question number 1. And I think all 4 have had a very interesting window, positive window, and they're going to be all potentially in a race for the championship. Second question, Rob, is which club will have a stronger comeback season, Manchester United or Tottenham Hotspur? Let's start Man United, Rob, because lots of changes there. You got a good close look at them in pre-season summer series.
Yeah.
What's
so we're looking at the Europa League finalists, is what we're saying. Let's take a look at it's amazing these 2 teams. So 15th, 42 points for United, 17th, 38 points for Tottenham. Tottenham did win the silverware, so the Europa Cup winners. Let's start with United. No European football, Rob, which actually might be a blessing. I'll give you a couple of quick takeaways from the Premier League Summer Series, and something I'll try and do over the course of the podcast, because we've got some great access to Ruben Amorim and the Manchester United team and their training, Jason Wilcox, who looks after the football side. The biggest thing I'd take away, Rob, is that Ruben Amorim suggested this is a culture change. From here on in, we move in a very different direction. That he drew a line at the end of last season, and those who were coming with him were one side, and those who weren't were the other. And if you weren't with him, he didn't have much care for you. Those players pretty much have stayed at Carrington while the rest have gone about the friendlies. He talked about, Robert, interestingly, it came out public, I think, this week. He talked about going into games being fearful, not knowing what he was going to get. I've got to tell you, mate, when you see him, and I know you were away on holiday, couldn't get there, but you would have loved seeing him on the training ground. Wow. He's a training ground guy. Is he? Yeah. He's getting in with the players. He's coming up to you, moving you a couple of yards and showing you why, and talking and working, and the relationship between the players you can see is building. They were having laughs at times. He was on them sometimes. They worked hard. There was a spell at the end where 5 or 6 are doing the free kicks and the shooting for half an hour. He's telling them to come in. The others are doing all the things, Rob, that you have to see at a successful club that would kind of been around dressing rooms long enough. Were there. That tells me that there will be a change. How far that change is going to go, I'm not sure. When you've got a front three, about $300 million worth of Shesko, Cunha, and Mbeumo, Rob, it's pretty good going forward. It's pretty good now. Can he work behind that and get the other bits in place? That's the question in the system he wants. But he's wedded to the system. Absolutely went there a few times. Is there any? I mean, he's going to tweak it in little ways, but he's wedded to it, and he's determined. He says, "I live or die by what this system is going to give me."
Yeah. Well, I think, it's not the time to get into that, but they look pretty similar to all the other teams, mate, when they build up. When they got the 2 wing backs high, they're pretty much the same as everybody else. 2 number 10s behind the striker, a couple of guys in midfield, 3 at the back, kind of building up. That's kind of what they all try and get to. It's exciting. I feel, Rob, and I felt from the summer series watching bits of it, there's a bit of a momentum. The performances were good. There was a good, the feel-good factor's a little bit better. Was it Luke Shaw, Rob, that's saying that there's no stragglers now in the dressing room and there's a better environment? He's enjoying the environment. Alejandro Garnacho, obviously, is not a good pro, and he wants him out of the football club. Rashford's gone off to Barcelona, got a great move for himself. Others are good. Malasha's good. There's a bomb squad. There's people that he doesn't want to be part of this new project. And the signings, you've got to say, Brian Mbeumo, we did his highlights of Brentford so many times, and he was always involved in goals and assists. He's got good numbers. Mateus Cunha is a United type of maverick, a loose player that can excite the fans and gets fired up. Bruno Fernandes now has got different targets to hit. The interesting one is the raw diamond of Benjamin Shesko. And I think it's Shesko, Rob, that we're going to end up saying. I think that's the way that the Shesko, I think we've got to say it like that. Wow. So I spoke to people that watched him in the Bundesliga. I've watched tons of film and clips and not just his goals videos, by the way. We had access to some other software that we can see You know, for example, all his attempts at goal, all his shots and all his attempts at goal. I mean, I think even Amorim has said, like, he's got a lot of development in him.
To do, yeah.
So I in Man United as a club, Rob, that expects a little bit. I hope. The people I've spoke to says that sometimes he looks $1 million. Like, he's got great little shuffle feet.
Yeah.
He's got a brilliant strike off both feet, like outstanding power from distance. He's a big guy. He's well over 6 foot tall. He can score in the air as well. But there's times he looks like a pub player. He's hot and cold. He's hot and cold. And one guy, and I'm not going to say it was, who's watched him a lot in the Bundesliga, said, "I think he's a dud." That's what his. So there's very raw. He's got incredible tools.
Yeah,
what I've seen, decision making, and ability to link up, and all these soft skills.
Doesn't that link itself, Rob, to a club that's not in Champions League, a club that's not kicking at the top of its game? So we've got to go. That's the market. That's a 22-year-old.
Yeah, we've got tons of time, loads of potential,
loads of things. But we ain't going to get at the moment. We're not buying the finished article because that's not the draw.
Well, I guess Cunha and Brian Burma are
more. Yeah, you know what you're going to get. They played in the league and they know the way around it.
We don't, in terms of a ceiling for this guy, Sheshko, we don't know what that ceiling is.
Well, I assume we're saying he's a better version of Rasmus Højlund, isn't he?
Well, that's what they'd be hoping. Big number, similar sort of age, similar sort of number.
Somewhere that his hero, his idol was Zlatan, and I kind of watched him and thought he's got a little bit of that around him. He's 6'3", I think he is.
He's got brilliant,
big lad, lovely left foot, nice feet, good power off his shooting. But he's going to learn now. What was interesting with the summer series, now and then, for little periods of the game, Cunha went as the highest player. And stretch the pitch. And Burma went as the highest player and stretch the pitch. So there might be, and you can then bring a Bruno underneath as a 10 with the right midfield balance underneath it. So it isn't that he's going to have to start every game. And if things aren't quite going so well, or he tires, or the physicality against big centre backs in the Premier League, they do have options with this that I think Amorim will turn to.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting front three, and I think it's going to be much better for Man United. I really do. And it seems now Carlos Baleba, Rob, the midfield player from Brighton, is in their sights now. Whether they have got the money to bring him in as well, I mean, I think most people like Baleba. He's a good player.
Just wanted to I've just written a note. Kobbie Mainoo, my friend.
Yeah.
Does a Baleba overtake a Mainoo in the pecking? And so, man, I mean, again, Robert, just because of what we saw, some of the things, I kept a real eye on him in the training and that. And to look at him, he's a beast, mate. He's physically got good size. He's well built. He gets around the pitch. He can use his body. But there's something in there that he's got to become more dominant on a football field. And at the moment, I know he's young boys. I think still 22 years of age, but 22 years of age, people are making it happen at this level now. Yeah.
Arsene Wenger, Rob, wasn't it? Arsene Wenger said 23 years of age. You pretty much got what you're going to get at 23. Now they're going to learn a little bit as they experience, but in terms of the soccer, the IQ, the physicality is kind of, you're in a good shape at 23. The only thing I've always thought about Kobbie Mainoo is that we know he's technically excellent, wonderful ability, is mobility, is getting around, is getting back to make a last-ditch challenge in midfield. With the system they play and the two players in midfield, sometimes the wing-backs are far away. Those front three sometimes aren't close. Those two in the middle, apart from Man United, have both got to have good legs and energy to get around probably big distances. And that's the one thing. Has he got a big enough engine, Rob? Has he got a big enough running stamina? You got to have all these qualities to make it as a Premier League player, and then uber that to make it a club like Manchester United. So it might. I mean, I hope I'm way wrong here, but my fear is that he ain't quite got the stamina, the running ability, and energy to be more of a dynamo with the ball and without the ball. I think we've seen that Carlos Baleba is more aggressive, Rob. He's more of a defensive player, cover the ground a little bit better than Mainoo. I might be wrong, and maybe Mainoo will go into the next line of the team, a Bruno position,
like an 8.
But it's going to be interesting to see that. I mean, whether Balaba goes or not is going to be interesting. But Kobe Mainoo now has got to start showing that he can be. He's a fixture. You know,
he's got to be reliable as well, dependable. I think.
On the ball, he's reliable, Robin. He's good on the ball.
When
without the ball, if it turns over, is he gonna jump on it?
That was against Everton in that summer series when they were up in the game and ended up, just seeing it out. Yeah. Okay, my friend. Let's move it. So we've talked to Manchester United at length again. Let's talk about Tottenham. A very different looking Tottenham with Thomas Frank now in charge. He's one of our managers that we love listening to. Great communicator, I think, with his players, with the media. Really going to be interesting what Thomas Frank's Tottenham looks like, Rob, because he is a guy who he talked to us before in the past. We spent fortunate to spend a bit of time, and he talked about how he works his 2 or 3 systems, gets everybody knowing what they're doing, depending who he's playing. He sometimes adapts to the opposition. Again, is that a tactic you do when you're a Brentford manager? Do you do the same thing at Spurs if it's going to get you success, or are you Tottenham, so you impose what you're going to play on the others? I just feel he'll find a better place for some of them square holes and round pegs. I think he'll find a fit that's better for the group that will be progressive and hopefully more successful, I would think, for Spurs. But really interested to see how Thomas Frank goes about this. And let's not forget, they have lost Heung-Min Son, one of their star wide players, who was a great addition to what they had.
Yeah, I mean, very old news now, and I won't spend much time on it at all. I feel for Ange a little bit, Postecoglou. I on record to say, I think he deserves another crack at it at the start of the season. Obviously, I just felt, and again, I'll be trying to be real quick here, that he did put all his eggs in one basket. He admitted that. He picked the Premier League teams that he knew weren't the strongest because he wanted to focus on the Europa League, and he did it. He got them over the line and won trophy. But I suppose the other games, Daniel Levy was not happy with it. He put his eggs in one basket, even though they won. Anyway, made the change. Good manager, Thomas Frank. And it's going to be really interesting, Rob, because there's a lot of times I've enjoyed Tottenham, enjoyed the players. Again, they've gone young. There's some really good, talented players there. But of course, under Ange, it was a uber attack tilted, possession tilted team. And I'm interested just in a conventional, normal coach with this group, Rob. Yeah, with this group. And they brought in Mo Kudus, haven't they, from West Ham United? Which is going to be interesting because I think he'll compete with Brennan Johnson on the right-hand side. I kind of like João Palhinha from Bayern Munich, Rob. They got, remember him from Fulham. It's a really good holding player. It's exactly what they need, particularly on the back of Yves Bissouma, Rob. You see that news the last few days? He's been sent home or he's been left out of a squad, Yves Bissouma. And Thomas Frank was interviewed and said disciplinary reasons. He was late too many times.
Happened again, hasn't it? That happened with Ange a couple of times as well, didn't it?
Yeah, and he's like, listen, I love my players. I'm here to support my players, but there's got to be consequences. And they said there's a consequence. So he's left him out, which I like. I love it from Thomas Frank. I love the managers that do that and say that and are honest about that, because sometimes fans want certain players in the team or how you're treating a player that way. He's honest. I think we know that he's an excellent human being. It's going to be interesting to see how he develops his team, because it will be in a normal kind of coached setup with a certain amount of players allowed to get forward, a certain amount of insurance.
Interesting you say that. Use the word normal, Rob, because in many respects, Spurs isn't a normal club, is it? There's always something different about Spurs, and whether it's Levy, whether it's Jose Mourinho.
It's changeable. It's been changeable, Rob, isn't it? It's been changeable.
It's always been a bit all over the place, and they've gone, probably against type in some respect with a Thomas Frank. Yeah. A smaller, not huge profile manager, somebody who knows how to get the job done, somebody I think who gets on with players and will get the best out of the squad. That's what they're hoping for. And it's a big challenge for them. So in terms of those two teams, mate, who do you think has... I kind of feel like, for me, I've got to go Spurs, because I'm just thinking from 17th in the league, Thomas Frank will do a better job, will increase that and get them top 10.
Yeah. Well, Man United need to be top 10. Man United need to be. Absolutely. And again, the expectations at Man United is it's really crippled the club over the years. The expectation when they finish second with certain managers not been good enough. Other players have not been good, but actually they're probably doing okay. Expectations should change at Man United now. Expectations in the new season should be, I know we had a disaster.
I would think 8 for Man United.
Yeah, let's get up there. So
top 8 is the first step.
Is it one of them when Man United? I don't want to go back to them too much, but I feel like United, if they start well, and if these new front three kind of start well, Dorgo down the left-hand side, if they've got a stability in the defense, I still worry about the middle of the park, but maybe Ugarte can play in there, whoever's partner is, they could go over that knife edge of, instead of losing games all the time, they might win a lot of games, and they might have a good start. I feel like they need a good start for the momentum they've had in pre-season.
Well, this just feels like a fresh break, doesn't it? This is what Amorim wanted. He always said, even last year, I wanted the pre-season, I wanted my players. It's starting to get more that way.
He said good times are coming. And Robbie said good times are coming at the end of last year after he apologised for their season. But anyway, so I think United might do better than Spurs. That's just my gut. Yeah.
Let's just see how that goes. Okay, my friend, let's move it on to, we're going to question 3, which is, which club is best poised to build on their success from last season? So we've got 3 clubs in this category. So we've got Newcastle, Villa and Forest, who all had, in very different ways, really successful seasons, despite maybe 1 or 2 of them not being a little bit disappointing in the end. But finishing 5th, 6th and 7th, which of these 3 clubs is sort of best poised to go on again, to kick on a little more, maybe?
This is awkward, mate, because I almost feel like they've all got difficult.
Yeah,
they've all got tough times ahead.
Challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I think Newcastle United, with the Alexander Isak stuff right now, that's awful. Eddie Howe is understandably super down about it. He's basically saying that the team are down about what's going on with Alexander Isak. They had a great season last year. They win a trophy. They finish in Champions League qualification spots. Everything's really, really good. Anthony Elanga from Nottingham Forest, I think is a brilliant signing. It's a brilliant signing. He was my favourite player at Forest with his pace, with his end product. I think that's another really good winger. Anthony Gordon went off injured. Rob looked like maybe a hamstring problem in the last game, pre-season game. A club and a team that I thought were going to power into a new season with some additions and this money that the Saudis have got that they can't really spend. They're up against it. Like another one of these teams in Aston Villa and PSR, it feels like they have to be a little bit careful with that. And I could, Aston Villa again with a lot of the talk of Ollie Watkins up front, Ivan Gissan, the new striker, or the forward from Nice, in the last week or so. I'm hearing good things about him, Rob. I think he was the second best player in African football or something behind.
Very close, 24.
Yeah, so I think that's a good signing. So maybe Villa would be my answer here, who can kick on and do a bit better than last year. I think Newcastle is going to be hard to beat 5th of last year. And I think Nottingham Forest, they've made a couple of sign-ins, players that maybe don't know quite so well, that are highly regarded, that were good fees that came in. Dan and Doy is what I'm thinking of Bologna. Igor Jesus from Botafogo. So I think it's going to be hard for Forest to get where they were last year. It was a remarkable season for them. So to answer the question, I would say by a smidgen, Aston Villa might be able to build on what they did last year, because they were 6th last season when they might have expected to be a little higher. What do you think?
Yeah, the Newcastle thing is just, with Isak, and we know how this is going to end.
Well, is it, Rob? So let's get into that. Let's double click on that, mate. How is it going to end?
Well, I think it's going to end with the player leaving the football club, which would be right before the deadline, probably after the 2 teams have played in the league. And Newcastle are going to try and get as much money as they can. I think there was a headline out today, again, how true some things are, but like Isak said he never wants to play or doesn't want to play for Newcastle again, and all that stuff's coming out from his camp now, because obviously, like we know in these situations, you're pushing to get the deal through so the player can move on and play. And quite rightly, Newcastle are not making it easy, or if they are going to sell, are going to get the most money available for one of the hottest strikers in European, if not world football. And it's such a shame for, as you say, in Eddie Howe, that it's like his 2nd Champions League campaign. He's just won the Carabao Cup. Yeah. He's just looking to build things on. And again, I was reading just a little background where, how difficult it's been for Eddie Howe in the structures, like no chief executive, I think, in the town. I think it's Darren Eales, who's been taking Earle and has had to leave the football club. No sporting director called Mitchell. So you can imagine Eddie Howe's a little bit looking around like, where's my help? Where, if we are going to let him go, who are we going to bring in? Ekitike was somebody on their wish list at one time. Liverpool go and sign him. It's just been a nightmare from the end of what was a great season for Newcastle, winning that first silverware, seeing those Geordie fans enjoying Wembley, and then moving forward into where we are now. Villa a bit same. I think Villa are a bit hamstrung by PSR, while most of the team doesn't look bad. I say this Gassan who they bought looks like a decent additional striker. Ollie Watkins looks like he may be staying now. Just feel like there's still a little bit of improvement for them. But Europa League, Rob, is they were disappointed not to make Champions League, but Europa League is a kind of tournament they could win. I mean, did so well in the court, got to quarterfinals of Champions League. Unai knows this tournament, knows how to play Thursdays and Sundays. That's the kind of thing they could win. So I feel a little bit more for Villa. And Forest, I just think it's going to have some great nights in Europe. The fact was, it's 30 years since they've last been there. There's talk about they need to fatten their squad up a little bit, just in terms of with European football as well, playing. But based on defensive structure, really, wasn't it? Forest, Lankovic and Murillo and Salz in goal.
Morato there.
It's almost like a new signing. Gibbs White staying, signing a new contract. That was almost like business done. And then it's whether Chris Woods and Awani can score enough goals. If this guy Jesus from Botafogo, apparently Edu's doing connections down in Brazil. He's now ahead of things. So I think it's a season to look forward to for Forest. Be safe, be comfortable in the table, try and get top 10, have a good run in Europe. But I just feel as though Villa might have a little go this year.
Before we move on to the next question, Rob, can I just chirp back at Isak? Can I just go back at you, Isak?
Yeah.
Now, and I know this is what we've seen before, right? But and maybe I'm totally being naive and I'm going to be wrong, but I feel like Newcastle, number one, are not going to let this guy go unless it's nearer to 150 million pounds.
Okay.
And he's got 3 years left on his contract. And this might be one of those rare situations where he ain't going. You ain't going, mate. So it's going to take some healing. And I guess the more he kicks up and the more he's just moved house, apparently, and the more he says, I'm never going to play for the more he burns the bridge, will probably help him, the club say, you know what, let's just get rid of him.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me, Rob, if Liverpool, who have not second bid, they had 110 million pounds.
I
think there's quite a big gap there, and there was a sense that they might not bid again, and they haven't. This is fascinating, mate. And you're right. Mostly the player goes. Yeah. But I just think this one, they've got bundles of money, Newcastle United. They might say, you know what? You ain't going. And if you don't want to play, you sit in the stand for a little bit then.
Yeah.
And they could do that. But that's not going to benefit anybody. 3 years left on his contract, Rob. The club have got every right to say, unless we get,
of course they have.
You're not going to, and I know the player often holds the power.
Yeah.
But in this case, with 3 years left, they can say no if they're not going to get, a really strong fee. And Liverpool might not pay it, Rob. That's all I'm saying. It might be a very difficult one.
We'll see. It's one that will run. It's going to be one of the stories of this. The start of the Premier League season, and Liverpool play Newcastle in a couple of weeks' time. It just adds a little bit more to the story. But let's see where Alexander Isak ends up after the transfer windows close. Okay, my friend. So let's move it on to the question 4 in our little run, which was, which club will end up being the biggest surprise this season? Now we can talk from your Brightons, Bournemouth, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Everton, West Ham, Brentford, or Wolves. Which of those teams will surprise us? And I think, in fairness to majority of those teams, they've all stepped up and gone on to another level, Rob, in many respects. Haven't they, with the coaches that they've got, with the kind of recruitment that they've brought in? Maybe West Ham aren't quite where they'd like to be yet, but certainly like the Brightons, the Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford in the past have shown, that they've moved up and are no longer the easy whipping boys of the Premier League.
I think there's a couple of clubs in here, Rob, that due to the nature of their football club and their structure, are going to find it difficult. Bournemouth and Brentford have sold very good players. Very good players. And Bournemouth go to Anfield on Friday. We're going to be there pitch side watching Bournemouth. They've lost 3 out the back 4, haven't they? 3 of they.
Yeah, 3. Zabani,
3 out the back 4. Yeah. Gyokeres and Dean Howson to Real Madrid.
And the goalkeeper.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot to deal with there. And it's the nature of what they do. Same with Brentford, the players that they've lost now and the manager that they've lost and the captain that they lost and all that. So they're going to have difficult. In terms of team that has the ability to surprise this season, well, maybe I shouldn't be saying this after what we've just seen them play, but Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are a very good team. Now, I've just talked about 2 clean teams, and this is why we bundle these questions like this, because they're all similar. Crystal Palace have got 3 very good central defenders. They've got 3 very good attacking players that can hurt anybody. We saw it in their Community Shield against Liverpool. We saw it against Man City in the FA Cup final. They're a very good footballing team. But it looks like they're going to lose at least one of their star players towards the end of the window. Mark Gay and Steve Parish basically said, we can't keep him. We've got to sell him because his
contract's up next season.
Yeah, his contract's up. Abracha Eze as a I think it's a £68 million release clause out of his contract. He might go as well. Yeah. It's a little bit like Bournemouth and Brentford and others and Brighton in the past that these clubs do a great job of recruiting. They get good managers to come in. I mean, you know, Albert Glasner's done a brilliant job at Palace, and yet it's frustrating. I know it's frustrated Rob in the last few weeks about not having more players coming. He might lose key players right at the end of the window, which is the last thing he wants. So I want to say Crystal Palace for a surprising season, but I think given what we think is coming, it's going to be difficult. The last club I mentioned before you let you get back in, Rob, is Everton. Everton. David Moyes and sneaky bringing in some good players that are going to be are going to entertain and going to be interesting. Dewsbury Hall from Chelsea. Dewsbury Hall is a good midfield player. He's going to be good on the ball. He's going to be proactive. He's got good energy. And your mate Jack Grealish going there on loan is a brilliant story. Everton
is a great story
with Enjoy as well. Anyone enjoy Rob the midfield Charlie Alcaraz?
Yeah, Alcaraz
centre halves in Branthwaite. You've got a good goalkeeper. They might have a sneaky good season. So and I know they're still not done with their transfers. I like what Everton have done in the window so far.
Well, it was interesting because we spent a bit of time with David Moyes. And obviously, Tim's got a great relationship going back years when they worked together. And David Moyes, I can tell you, was not happy when he was in America with what was coming in, what was going on in the transfer window. Which sort of saying he doesn't feel he's got his team where he wants to be in preparation for the season. Then all of a sudden, you say in the space of a week, Dewsbury Hall's come in, Grealish has come in, the looking fielder, Theo Bent, Barry, the striker, I think is one for the future, mate. I think
he didn't look very good when I watched him. I watched him
raw and not quite. You know, he's got a bit to learn, but I think as David Moyes said. Listen, he says you take a gamble on these kids, and you know for 35 million with his record, I think it was 12 at Villarreal and he's got 20 in Belgian football. It was a gamble worth taking, but he's calling him the baby Beto, which I'm not sure is a good or bad thing. Really. Somebody who's still got to learn his trade, but he's got good size, he's got all the good raw materials. But it was very much what David Moyes was saying in terms of Everton. He's got to, they've moved in a brand new stadium. He's going to almost now build a team. And, he was talking, Rob, about, not just surviving. He wants to get back to that Everton that was close to top 6. It was 7th or 8th. That were a real challenge of European football. And that's where he wants to be at this stage of his career. And he wants the club almost to have that ambition. He said it's almost like they've had so many years of just staying up where they've started to turn into that kind of club. Let's make sure we're not in the relegation where he's saying, I want to look at the other end of the table. So, it's fascinating spending time with him. Palace is just, it's been such a great story since that FA Cup win and the Community Shield. I mean, the UEFA ruling that takes them now to the Conference League, it's been really harsh. And I know Steve Parish and the legal people come out with some strong words in terms of it's a privilege and power in football. Sporting merit has been rendered meaningless when teams like Crystal Palace are not in the cup that they should have been, having won the FA Cup. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's anywhere else to go for.
They They lost the appeal to the Court of Arbitration.
Yeah. So
they're going to swap
have
places.
to go with the conference, which is going to be such a shame for the team and Oliver Glasner. But again, we talk about good coaches. Oliver Glasner just does a great job of setting his team up. We look at players who under Roy Hodgson weren't really sure where they were. Were they quality Premier League players? In the way that he's worked, he's turned them around. And as you say, they're now in the position where, Adam Morton's the next one. They're all talking about the kid in midfield they got from Blackburn, Eza, Mark Gay, players who could leave. And if they leave, Rob, they're going to be big boots to fill for Crystal Palace. I got to tell you, I still like Bournemouth. I still like what they're doing. And I know they've lost another one. Zabani, I think, has gone today. Yeah. But under the ownership of Bill Foley, I think there's a real ambition in terms of training ground, in terms of new stadium. Again, seeing Earle work, he's a real training ground on the pitch, working with players. Liked what he was doing. I just think that they'll.
They've got the attacking players, Rob, haven't they? So Semenyo,
really good attacking line, a real good way of playing. The players
at the moment.
Players very bought into the system as well. Yeah. We talked to Tavernier one day, and he just said, we all buy in and we all go on that high press. We said we'll all do it together. We know there's a risk, but we're prepared to take the risk because we feel if we win the ball back, we're in the opposition's goal. And as they've shown many times, they do it as well as anybody in the league.
Just a couple of clubs, Rob, we'll finish on before we get to the next question.
Yeah.
Which is question number 5. Just a line on Fulham and West Ham. I looked at Fulham this last week and kind of had a little real deep dive into what they've done. They've had a very, very quiet window, Fulham. But is it one of those times where they've just happened to have right now a very well-balanced squad? They've got a manager who knows what he's doing. He was rumoured a little bit for Tottenham earlier in the window.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't need that much. They got, the only thing I kind of thought when I went through the squad and looked at some of the players, Emil Smith-Rowe, Rob, probably needs a bigger season, I would say.
Yeah.
Expectation for him from Arsenal.
Yeah, maybe.
He's kind of in that a little bit. I'd expect a bit more from him. Iwobi had a really good season last year. But I think Fulham, they're bang in the middle of the table. They play nice football. They haven't had to do a lot of trading. I mean, it is always nice to bring a couple of players in. We know what it's like in pre-season to meet new people and to freshen up the team a little bit. I mean, they've done
maybe the tactics leaving it a little bit later. You maybe get slightly better value for money or whatever, a couple of loan people.
Yeah. So I think, not much more to say right now. Apart from they're a well-run club. They've got a good balanced squad. If you look at the departments, they've got 2 good strikers. They've got midfield players. They've got creative players. They've got a decent back four. I mean, they've got a good manager. So, maybe it's a case where, like you said, maybe they'll try and get a couple with good value at the end of the window. Give us a sense of, before we move on, Rob, West Ham United, we haven't really talked about them much. I know you got a good look in the summer series. I feel like slow burning, but going to get better, that will miss Kudos, though, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they will miss Kudos. But interesting enough, Graham Potter's very open and transparent and said basically, he was doubling up with Kudos because Kudos and Bowen like to play from the same side, the right. And he said in the end, Jared Bowen produces more as my captain, and we decided he was the one we were prepared to sacrifice for the right money. Yeah. So he went. It was over the summer series that we heard the Pacator.
That's good. Good news for him.
So honestly, mate, you could visibly see him the next day in training. He was in. And I'll tell you just quickly a couple of things on him. He's as strong as an ox, by the way. He's a right aggressive little so-and-so in training, the one who, don't take anything like it for thing. Trains like he plays, and an absolute great character to be around. One of them who's making sure training's at a high standard. It was like, blew me away a little bit, where you see him as a bit of a 10 and lazy, not interested. Didn't have to work hard, mate, and didn't have to make sure everybody else was working hard.
The only thing I said, we were lucky enough to have a chat with Graham Potter. We had a little 10 minutes with Graham Potter. And we asked him about Pacatar, and this is before I think the news was out that he was cleared of all charges. And the only thing he did say, Rob, was interesting for me is that he said there's just too much of a difference of performance level with Pacatar. He said is when he's on, he is like world class, amazing, but he has too many times where he comes way off of that, and he's a little bit ineffective. So maybe with all those charges, I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine all those allegations about you?
No, I can't, to be honest.
So that's good news for him. So we'll see how West Ham
it was a big season for West Ham and I think now pre-season, few of his own players. Tell you, look in good shape. Fulkrug looked in good shape.
Good shout. Good shout.
Like he leaned up real determined. Was involved in a couple of goals in the summer series and that. And I think big season for him.
Could be a big season. I agree.
Big season for West Ham United. All right, my mate. Let's just turn it to our last section of the day. And as ever, we're going to go to the 3 teams that were promoted. How will the newly promoted sides fare? And if you had to pick one of them to stay in the league this year, which one is more likely?
Well, I think more likely, gosh, this is a difficult question. It's probably going to be Leeds United, Rob. And I'm only saying that I mean, you know what, Rob? I think we're seeing this every season now where in the close season time when we're off, of course, we've got tons of time off and we do our thing, but also we want to get ahead of the next season. I've started watching less and less games of the Championship because all the teams that come up now, they are building new teams.
Yeah.
And these 3, maybe a little bit less so Leeds United, but I think Sunderland have signed 11. But Burnley have signed a whole bunch of players.
8 for Burnley so far and counting.
I mean, there's some notables in there. Granit Xhaka going to Sunderland is a very interesting signing. But in terms of like trying to predict what these teams are going to do, it's very difficult. We all know data and fact says it's really hard to stay in the Premier League. I can give you examples where teams haven't spent much money, have managed to stay in. I think 3 seasons ago, all 3 stayed up. I think Bournemouth was one of those. Crystal Palace, I think, was one of those. I don't know, I can't remember. But these teams are doing what we might expect them. They're making new teams. I've got my some notes in front of me now from Burnley. Of course, we're going to see my old teammate Scott Parker. We played together at Charlton Athletic. Gets another chance in the Premier League. They've gone for a little bit more Premier League experience, Rob. When I look at some of their signings, Kyle Walker is a standout Man City champion that's joined the football club. Ogachukwu from Chelsea. Jaden Anthony was at Bournemouth. James Trafford, Dubravka, Newcastle United, Axel Twanzebe, Rob, that was at Ipswich last year. They're going a little bit more on the back of a remarkable defensive campaign, Burnley last year. Where's the number? 16 goals against in 46
conceded. Yeah.
So
30 clean sheets.
I mean, maybe that I think for sure we're going to see more of a Sean Dyche Burnley than a company expansive Burnley, and probably to stay in the league. That if they can maintain that defensive kind of structure, which is a way harder in the Premier League, and some of those experienced players might help, and they can get some counterattacks going. Maybe they can do it as well. Sunderland is a whole new team. Who knows? Like who knows? But we have to wait. We have to wait to see the team play a few times.
I looked on the squad list and then looked a little bit at systems and how they play, and it's all very different. But I thought there was one thing I read this morning that I thought summed up. Somebody said, like, Burnley, the archetypal club that, seemed too good for one league, not good enough for the other. They got relegated. So the last 4 years, they got relegated with 35 points from the Premier League. The following year got promoted with 101 points. Then got relegated from the Premier League with 24 points. And been promoted with 100 points. Yeah. It's like, they're that in-between team.
Well, Leeds are as well, aren't they? Leeds United are a little bit wrong. Daniel Farker, is he going to be? Is he one of the managers, Rob, because of what he's done in the past? And the opinion will be, well, he's great. Daniel Farker, yeah. I mean, is he going to be like, if they don't start well, this guy doesn't do it in the Premier League, we've got to get somebody else.
Well, a couple of things I liked about him, Rob. He said, like, the signings he got in, he wants height, wants aggression, he wants physicality as a base to match the Premier League. So I thought that's just a good realization, Rob, of what that, despite the incredible quality and technical ability, you just physically sometimes have to be able to compete. People can just run all over you if you're not careful. So I think he wants to address that. I'm looking at his team thinking, and I know it's a bit cliche, but days at Ellen Road, Rob, if that team are difficult to play against, will be a benefit. It's something that works in your favour. They got Joel Perreault, haven't they?
Top striker.
19 goals last season, top in the Championship. They haven't done much more business at the top end of the pitch. They got Sean Longstaff from Newcastle. I thought it's good business.
Anton Stack, a German midfield player, Bundesliga experience.
Players,
He's still got Dan James. They've still got Pascal Strout. They've still got Wilfred Mustoe that can do work. Brennan Aronson, of course, the American-US international player.
Absolutely.
So they've stuck. I feel like the team.
Oh, sorry, just read one just before we came on as well that they've agreed for Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Oh,
Just done
interesting.
an agreement for Dominic Calvert-Lewin on a free. Which is, which again, if we can keep him fit and we can get him on the football pitch, even if it's 25 games, Rob, you know, he might be able to bring you the goals. From Burnley's point of view, it's whether, you know, that pragmatic approach from Scott and the clean sheets and that, does that carry any weight in the Premier League a step up? When Josh Brownhill was your top scorer with 18 goals in midfield, mate, which was an incredible return, but you're going to need to have another source of goals from attacking players if Burnley are going to survive. Spent 150 million though, Burnley. We've done about 8 players. So at least I think it's 3 of the teams have kind of gone, as you Sunderland, as you say, under is it Regis Labrie, 100 game. They've spent a lot of money themselves over the summer. Granite Jack has been the standout. Not quite sure how they got that business done.
Yeah.
But, you know, tactically smart young coaches, tactically, you know, have shown that they could do it in the Championship. Can they convert some of that to the Premier League and maybe find a balance between playing the kind of football they want but being difficult to play against, I think, is one of the keys.
Well, it's funny, mate, isn't it? Because, you know, we're kind of wrapping up a little bit now with these promoted teams, but it's like there's cycles, right? We've seen teams that park the bus and are pragmatic, struggle to score enough goals, they go down. Last year was Southampton, and it was, and remember, of course, Burnley, this expansive type of football. Managers thought that with that way, they can play enough to create enough to stay up. That hasn't worked. It's less about that for me. It's more about the quality of the players that you get, whichever way you decide to play. It looks like Burnley are going to be more pragmatic. I'm sure Sunderland are. Leeds United will be a little bit more balanced team. I think Daniel Farke is going to be a little bit more expansive, a little bit more on the front foot. I mean, I wish them all the best. And it's good, Rob. I mean, there's been criticism about the parachute payments.
Oh, yeah.
What it means is why the parachute payments are there is that the 3 clubs can have a go and be competitive. They can go ahead and spend £100 million on players, knowing that the revenues from the season they're up. And then if they do go down, the parachute payments will enable the clubs to gently adjust back to instead of going crazy and then having nothing to fall back on. I know it doesn't help my old club Middlesbrough and a few of the other teams, Stoke City and a few others, that find it hard to compete with the clubs that get parachute payments, but it's there because of what we're seeing now, and teams that are offered the chance to spend the money to stay in the league, that they'll get help on the way down. So wish them all the best, but my goodness, that's the thing with the Premier League right now. It's very, very hard to stay in. All right, go on, mate.
I just wanted to go on one place more on you, mate. And I know just before we move on, I suppose if one team stayed, Leeds, Burnley, whichever one, and one team dropped, which is your most likely team over the 38 season that might find themselves in hot water?
All right, so good question. I hadn't thought about it too much until now, but off the top of my head, I'm a little worried about Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I'm a little worried about Brentford.
Yeah, exactly.
Given, you know, Keith Andrews.
Who are you worried more about?
Probably
personally, I'll say Wolves.
You
I think if Keith Andrews doesn't work, I think they've got the structure and that to make a change, bring in somebody and
maybe
dress it. Although if they do let Wisa go as well as Mbermo, Noor Godin, the manager, that's a big part of your team missing. But I do slightly worry for Wolves with no Cunha, no Aït-Nouri, and whatever. I mean, I know he did a great job and he was an excellent manager and, you know, did great stuff at the second half of the season, but slightly worried if they get off
they're the ones that could and the promoted teams, they need a couple of those.
They need one, don't they? They need somebody to hang on to.
Yeah. All right. So we're on to the final piece now, Rob. Our rapid fire predictions. All right. So the first one, I'll just go down the list as it's been presented to us. Who will win the Golden Boot?
The Golden Boot will be won by Erling Haaland of Manchester City, my friend. In a City team that's rejuvenated under Pep Guardiola.
Yeah. They had a bad year last year. He still got.
He comes good. Well, I was looking at all the strikers in the new strikers. And you're like, well, we don't know with all those. What we do know is that Haaland will get goals.
Yeah, I agree. So we're the same on that one. Who will have the most assists? I'll go first on this one.
Yeah.
And who will have the most assists? again, based on last year, based on how the team might go.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Bukayo Saka of Arsenal, the Arsenal right winger. I think he's ready for a big season. I think he's going to have a lot of assists. Anything different on that one?
Yeah, I'm going to go Florian Wirtz. Liverpool,
yeah.
just sitting in that hole with runners and good movement ahead of him from 2 or 3 different spots.
Yeah,
I think he might just win the assist this season.
All right, Earle, you're first up. Which manager is most on the hot seat?
He's probably one of the youngest, one of the most experienced in the hot seat, following a legend that was Thomas Frank. I've got to say Keith Andrews at Brentford.
Yeah. I've got 3 here, but my manager who's most on the hot seat is Ruben Amorim.
Ooh.
Given where they were, given what they've done, given the new players that they've got.
Do you think by Christmas, if things aren't going right?
Well, yeah. If they're in the bottom half, if they're in the bottom third of the table at Christmas, he's going to be under massive pressure. And listen, I get the momentum. I like it. I'm with it. I'm just saying, like, what seats particularly hot? It's not right now because there's a feel good factor about the signings and he's clearing out people. But the proof's in the pudding. Like at some point, they've got to be better than where they were last year, and they've got some good players in that we know are good players that can do good things. So there has to be a big improvement for Man United. So I'm saying Amorim for the hot seat.
Yeah, I'm saying Keith Andrews. Where would you go with your best signing? Who's been good value? Who's slightly surprised you that they've captured?
Well, there's been so many blooming signings, Rob, I'm just, given what he might do and what it might mean, Victor Gyokeres is going to be the signing of the season. Well, given
all Arsenal fans are hoping and praying you're 100%
absolutely right. Yeah. And there's a ton of players out there, Rob, that I could mention.
Yeah.
But given what they need, what the manager needs, what the team needs, and they've got their man, Gyokeres could be the big important part for Arsenal.
Well, I'm going to go slightly off kilter with this one, mate. Very left field. My signing of the season is Granit Xhaka to Sunderland. Granit Xhaka to Sunderland.
I know. It's
incredible.
He's a champion. He's a Leverkusen Bundesliga champion.
Champion
a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Xabi Alonso and wants to come back. And if Sunderland do have a chance, we've seen how this guy works and what he can do and at the Arsenal and at Leverkusen now. So Granit Xhaka to Sunderland. Best signing.
The last couple of predictions, Rob. We're going to do a top 4 and we'll do a champions. Now, a top 4, unless you're going to throw something a little bit left field, which you do tend to do that.
No, I can't really on this time. Although I might get Man United in there for just so it plays up.
I think the top.
I think the 4 we talked of, isn't it?
I think so. Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. I think would be pretty surprising if they didn't make it. But listen, this is the Premier League. And let's finish with the biggest question of all, my friend. After all that we've talked about, all that we've seen so far, with the caveat, as we always say, that the deals between now and the end of the window might make a difference. But as it stands right now, I think we all know the favourites are in the Premier League right now after a strong window from Liverpool. But are they your favourite to win, to lift the trophy?
I've kind of got, unfortunately, I've got 2 answers, which I know you're not.
You can't have 2 answers. You cannot have 2 answers.
So, without Isak for Liverpool, I'm going Arsenal. With Isak for Liverpool, I'm going Liverpool. Isak's a difference maker.
Okay. I'm saying with Isak or without Isak, they're not winning it. Arsenal. It's Arsenal's turn.
Wow.
Whatever Liverpool do, it's Arsenal's turn.
Massive shout.
They've got very close. They've got a guy that I would say right now, if he scores 20 Premier League goals this upcoming season, Arsenal win the league.
Gyokeres. I wanted to disagree with that.
If Gyokeres scores 20 Premier League goals or more, they win the Premier League. They got the best defense from last year. They've got young players in Marcelo Skelly.
I hope you're right, mate.
Timber. They've added to midfield. They've got habits. Everybody's fit and playing. Saka's.
So they're ready now. You're saying all that sort of mentality. They'll go back 3 years. The bottling. Are they mature? Do they win when they don't play well? All those things have got to kind of be added.
And we've said this, I've said this for a couple of seasons now. They've built from the back. They did it defensively, in midfield, and now they've got attacking options now, particularly if they bring in Abramovich as a Liverpool. We know it's incredibly difficult to go back-to-back on league titles. I might say they might tilt towards the Champions League. The new players that might, I just got a few more doubts. Is Mo Salah going to score another 25, 30 goals? I just got a few more doubts about Liverpool's ability to bring all this together. And the manager's outstanding. Yeah. And Arsenal now, with Saka, the moment he's at, the Fettel he looks like in pre-season, the scorer that's an experienced player, and all the bits around him. And I'll say this finally, I don't think there's any team hungrier in the league this season to win the Premier League title than Arsenal Football Club and Mikel Arteta. And that's why I think, listen, I've been wrong before. I tipped them last year. Yep. I think this is going to be the season. Of course.
We're always keep it off so I can play it back to you. And
yeah, I know. Of course, I mean, I heard another pundit say this week, and I kind of agree, I might have been a journalist, that whichever of those two keep their key players fittest for the long run.
Yeah. But that's why they've both got numbers now, mate. They've got squads. You know what I mean? They've got squads that can do it. So
I think it's Arsenal's season this year.
All right, mate. I'm going Liverpool with Isak, Arsenal without Isak. Let's leave it at that. All right, mate. It's just 2 more sleeps before the Premier League is back. You know, almost every team in the league, there's a storyline to play out over the next 9 months. So make sure you tune in to Robbies every weekend to keep up to date with all the drama. And don't forget, we're live 2 p.m. Eastern Time on the USA Network. That's Friday, August 15th, when we'll be at Anfield, ahead of Liverpool, the champions, facing Bournemouth. But for now, I'm Earle, he's Mustoe, together with the 2 Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Lowe, and as we head towards the end of an exciting Premier League season, make sure you like and subscribe on the NBC Sports YouTube channel for more content like this.